JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run Part 2. From my last reviewing of this story, I went over the plot and characters as such, but this time I want to go just over my general impression of it. I want to avoid spoilers of the overall story, as I really did enjoy it and I would want people to go and read it for themselves. So to start with, I want to express where I feel Steel Ball Run falls in with the JoJo universe. For me, Steel Ball Run fits well with following Phantom Blood and Battle tendency. Part 1 and 2 have always been my favourites, and Part 7 really lives up to it. Not to knock 3 to 6, I like them in their own way, but with how our story was built over time, and the characters go through change and face harsh truths of the forces they're trying to fight against, I feel it takes JoJo in the right direction. The story itself made me remember why I started reading JoJo in the first place. Its story is on a huge scale, but takes place behind closed doors, which is how it's always been for JoJo stories. But this has our characters hunting for the body parts of Jesus Christ. It's the right balance of crazy and epic that makes me regard it so highly. The characters. Let's just look at the protagonists, antagonists, and mention the side characters. Johnny is a refreshing Joestar. What sets him apart from me that he actually has flaws. Besides the obvious handicap, in many respects, he starts out as a boy not even wet behind the ears of the ways of the world. He is then thrown into this journey where he feels compelled to chase down the saint parts. But why? Because he's a Joestar and it's in his blood to take the higher calling, regardless of what fate has in store for him. His story really is to gain the qualities of a Joestar and follow what fate has in store for him, and do it to the bitter end, regardless of the hardships that lie ahead. Gyro's relationship with Johnny is another reason why I enjoyed this story so much. The Zeppeli bloodline has something I've missed from the JoJo series, but also just a really strong side character to partner with the Joestar. You could argue back and forth who really is the side character and who is the lead, as they both do share the spotlight. There is something to this character that gives him such a strong allure. He stands out with his strong convictions and his growth through the story. Like Johnny, his flaws show later in the story as he realizes he has to change to survive this harsh journey. Though we didn't want it to happen, fate seems to have it out for the Zeppeli bloodline. But what he did do was make Johnny become a true Joestar and show him that a man stays true to his word. Funny Valentine is such a complex villain, as you wonder if he really was a villain. His reasoning for wanting the saint parts were fascinating, and it's what made him, at times, a noble hero and a chilling villain. His presence as well wasn't menacing, but that cold stare is what made me know he was a JoJo antagonist. His stand is up there with one of the most powerfulest and bizarre stands of all. The best example is a chapter where people are trying to figure out who shot Johnny, and it just demonstrates how crazy D4C can be. He has been one of the antagonists with such a clear goal and conviction. It gives the story many twists and changes the reader's perspective of the characters if they're doing the wrong thing by going against him. Though I can't go into them all, Steel Ball Run had some of the best supporting cast. Lucy Steele has been one of the best female characters in all of JoJo, by how she pushes herself and what she has to go through. Dio was cunning and ruthless as he's ever been. His cleverness and drive gave way to some of the great Dio moments that live up to his other versions. The majority of the side characters all had story to them that gave them more depth and added greatly to the story. Though I have really sung my praises of Part 7, the beginning was slow for me, and at times you do have to trudge through a slow pacing. As mentioned before, the art has been some of the best in JoJo, and I enjoy how Hirohiko comes up with some strange designs. Stands feel a lot more natural in this series, not simply a means to come out and fight for the character, but aid them in battle and truly stand by them. The fights that happen during the last half are some of the best in JoJo series. They don't rely on fisticuffs, but our heroes have to use their wits, and it always comes down to the final blow to see who truly comes out on top. I don't know what more I can say. I didn't go through too much of the events of the story, as I feel people would get a lot more fun from reading it. But Steel Ball Run has revived my love for JoJo. I wonder if I was reading JoJo when it first came out, and if I was willing to go through 3 and 6 to get to 7. 3 and 6 just have a different pace and tone from Part 2. Would I have continued reading? Part 7 brings JoJo back to its roots, updates them, and gives the fans what they've always enjoyed at the core of JoJo. I hope my reviews have made people seek out JoJo and read it, as it has always stood out for me among other mangas. And JoJo is still going strong, with the rise of the new anime and the new fighting game that's coming out. And of course, the manga is still continuing with Part 8, JoJo Lion. But that's a discussion for another time.